All right, so let's go ahead and talk about how you can download Illustrator from Creative Cloud after you've downloaded Creative Cloud. So when you go to your Creative Cloud app, if you open it up, you're going to see something similar to this, except you shouldn't have any installed programs. I'm going to go ahead and warn you that Adobe programs do take a while to install, so give yourself some time to let this install. When you open this up, like I said, you won't have all these programs like I do. But once you do have a program downloaded, Adobe will actually tell you if your program needs to be updated or not. So if you come in here and it says that it has updates, then you can update it quickly and simply. I already have Illustrator, but you're going to go down to the bottom, you'll find Illustrator, and then click Install. It's that easy. Once it's installed, it'll show up in your installed list, and then you can actually open the program either from your Creative Cloud menu or from your applications or your desktop or wherever you choose to save it. Of course, I'm working on a Mac, so I'm going to go ahead and warn you now. Some things that I do on the Mac are not going to be the same as it would be on the PC. If I see any of those problems, I will address them, but I've been out of the PC world for so long that sometimes I have a hard time remembering that it's different on the PC. So if I miss something that's a big problem, please let me know and I will get the right information to you. But I think for the most part, we should be fine. Don't worry if you have a PC. Don't say, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to learn from her now. That's not the case, but it'll be fine. So let's go ahead and open Illustrator. So the first thing you're going to see are all of these options here, and then a nice Create New button. So if you create new, I think it's just going to open up a random size file and everything else. We don't want that. So it gives you all these nice little presets, first of all. So if you're making a postcard, it has it all figured out exactly what size you need, what color formatting you need for print, all that. Same with a letter size document. This is going to be your common size for your web page. They have a preset for iPhone 10. And then if you're making any sort of like icon or finishing screen, something like that for a YouTube video, then you can use that preset. I know we have a few of you in class who are already on YouTube, so that's something that you're going to use. If you know an exact size of something that you're needing, or maybe it's a bit different than some of these presets, you can go ahead and save more presets, and you can get down to the nitty-gritty here. So the first thing that we can change is how our measurements, what units we're going to use for our measurements. So the most common ones that we're going to use are pixels and inches. So pixels is going to be the size of things more for doing things digitally. So if you're making a website, if you're making something for social media, those measurements are normally going to be given to you in pixels, okay? If we're in print, though, of course, it's going to be inches. And since that's what we're most familiar with, I'm going to go ahead and change mine to inches. I did this earlier, so it already says it, but you can go ahead and make your, if you want to make your artboard right now 10 inches by 10 inches, you can go ahead and change that. You would just highlight it or, backspace it, whatever, and change it. This is where you would change the orientation of your board. So right now it's set to be vertical. If you want to change it to horizontal, you can. Of course, our board is a 10 by 10 square, so it's not going to make much of a difference right now. But let me go ahead. You don't have to do this, but I'm going to do this just so you can see. So right now I have the width at 12 inches, and if I switch it, it's going to change the height to 12 inches, okay? So going back to my square, just so we're all on the same page, if you need more than one artboard, you would do that right here, and you'll see what I mean by an artboard in just a second. The bleed is going to be a space around your artboard that won't necessarily show up when we print or export our design. However, if you are designing anything that you want to always go to the edges of your design, then you would make a bleed. So for instance, I'm going to this conference next week. They sent me this little reminder. They definitely used a bleed around this document because, as you can see right here, the blue background goes all the way to the edge. So sometimes when we're printing, our printer will be a little bit different or not read our file correctly or whatever. Honestly, I don't really know the exact reason. I think in 2021, everything should be pretty synced up by now, but guess not. So if they had sent this to the printer and it didn't have a bleed, they would have run the risk of having a nice little white strip right along this whole edge, and they wouldn't be near as pretty or professional looking. So that is why we use a bleed. It just gives us extra space to go over. Our color mode we talked about before. And you can change your bleed here. And if you don't want them all to be the same size, you can unlink it and change one at a time. But I like to keep mine linked, and I normally set a bleed of 1/8 of an inch. Of course, last week we talked about format mode and resolution. So this is one of the places that you can change that. So in our example, we're just going to keep it on CMYK because we're pretending we're doing something for print, but you could also change it to RGB right there. Oh, closed up my advanced. And then you can also change your resolution here. So of course, if we were designing for a screen, we could go down to 72, but we're pretending to do something for print, so we're going to keep it at 300. Then when you're done, you can press create. If you want to save your presets for the future, you can do that right here. 10-inch square print. Especially if you work for a company that does a lot of the same documents over and over, and you just want to make it quick when you open it, that would be where you do that. I don't really want to save this though for the future. I don't see myself needing this, but just in case. All right, let's go ahead and stop there, and then next we will get into our guides and frames.